Welcome to a new episode of the cut content of Half-Life's Gunman Chronicles. If this is the first time you hear about this forgotten Valve game, then check out our review first, link in the upper right corner. A short while ago I had a guest appearance in ESC's video about Gunman Chronicles. He asked me to talk about the multiplayer, and after I was done with my part for his video, in which I proclaimed the Gunman multiplayer to be fun but very simplistic, I thought this would be a great time to talk about a few cut features of the Gunman Chronicles multiplayer, which would have made it a bit more interesting than it ended up being in the release version. The multiplayer that we have in Gunman Chronicles is a copy of Half-Life standard multiplayer with the weapons from Gunman Chronicles, of course. And for a bit deeper analysis of the multiplayer that's actually in the game, I would invite you to see EDC's video, link also in the upper right corner. The interesting ideas for the multiplayer come in when we look at what we didn't get. Old design dossiers talk about vehicles in multiplayer, specifically referring to the tank that we got to use in the single-player campaign. The design dossier even mentions special destruction models for the tank, so we would have seen battlefields littered with torn-apart tanks. This science fiction tank would have made a formidable foe for real players. Armed with machine guns, a missile launcher and a mortar cannon, it does pack some significant punch. But the very powerful handheld rocket launcher would have made for a pretty good countermeasure. If it only cracks open tanks half as well as it shreds infantry, then the tank really wouldn't stand a chance if faced by competent players. Also, it has to be mentioned just how well the tank works. If we look at other times they try to introduce vehicles in a gold source game, let's just say the tank in Gunman Chronicles is really the best example. We got the regular chaotic multiplayer plus tanks, but what else would be different? Well, a lot. Originally, Gunman Chronicles was a multiplayer-only mod for Quake, before it became a standalone title under Valve. Before Valve took over, the multiplayer was planned to be asymmetrical, with 3 different factions, each using their own tactics and equipment. Originally, you were supposed to be able to play 2 humanoid factions and the Xenome aliens. The 2 playable humanoid factions were the Gunmen and not the Bandits. The other humans were the Telecom, which we covered in the previous episode. Again, link, well, you know where it is. Let me read you from the actual design document that the developer released back in the late 90s. Each player will be able to choose between a Gunman, Telecom or Xenome player. The different players will have different methods of attack and different weapons to choose from, possibly stealing weapons and items from their opponents. For example, a Telecom player may grab an energy pistol from a dead gunman opponent. The story behind the multiplayer is the idea of a claim. When a gunman and a Telecom must settle a dispute over territory, they must perform a close-quarter combat in order to stake their claim for the land. Though considered barbaric, this method was the only one agreed upon between NFC diplomats and the Telecom leaders. Xenomes hold no such honorable notions and simply fight because of their instincts. Each Xenome is an independent creature being subtly manipulated by some sort of collective entity, furthering to expand the strange Xenome race. End of quote. As we see here, the multiplayer was to be a lot different, more close quarters focused and with very different weapons, creatures and even vehicles. And all this sounds like it would have been a lot harder to facilitate than the multiplayer that we actually got. The idea of playable Xenome aliens would have been very interesting. I could actually imagine this being sort of a Left 4 Dead-like versus mode with the Gunmans and Xenome aliens. This would have been incredibly cool, but again hard to facilitate. I imagine the Xenome would have been a bit like the playable aliens in the Half-Life mod Point of View or the Half-Life Decay bonus level, where the players take control of 2 Vortigons. But I am beginning to speculate here. So what do you think about these cut ideas? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, you know what I would like you to do. Give the video a like, subscribe for future content, and maybe even consider supporting us on Patreon. Especially if you appreciate us covering niche topics from time to time, such as this, the cut content of Gunman Chronicles or cut game modes from Valve's Day of Defeat. Our supporters get access to the Patreon chat on our Discord server, and of course they get to see every video well before anyone else. Our wonderful supporters on Patreon are Lone Wolf, Zed Gladys, Cookie, Theto, Harrison Steffens, Plasma, Tome, Rainbow Flash, Grizzlyvia, Strange Module, Cop Fighter, Inter, Charles Surrit, Albany Knight, Sir K, Ram Gilama, Zane and Scarch Warrior. To them and everyone else, thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.